Hi guys, this is Rachel.
What's up, y'all? It's Maya. And today we're going to be talking about Station 11 by Emily Mandel. It was published in 2014 and was a national bestseller, and also it won Best Book of the Year.
This book is amazing because it touched on a new reading genre that I've never even heard about, and that is called theater fiction. Basically, it's all for the theater and band nerds, which there are a lot of us here, even myself, so a lot of different people could get into this book. Theater fiction is a book that really centers itself around the theater life. I'm sorry, there's this man outside. Okay, he's not going away, so we're not restarting this. Anyway, theater fiction, it's centered around theater life. So the characters are actors or critics or something, and they're in the theatrics. This book is not banned. It does not have any really controversial issues. The only bad thing is the disease that comes through and wipes out. There are some gruesome features, but nothing too controversial. It doesn't have anything about communism, so of course it's not banned. If you want to read this book, it is available in Miss Collins' personal library in her room and bookstores like Barnes & Noble.
Station 11 took place around the Great Lakes in Michigan. It begins in present day and has chronological change throughout the book, and it shows Arthur Leander's life story. It also travels back to 20 years after the pandemic, which takes place in Toronto in Canada, especially before, after the pandemic. There are locations in Silver City, Illinois, and various settlements and wilderness surrounding the area.
Before the collapse, there was this setting culture of modernism. A lot of people in the city, most of the people were well off, well-to-do, so they didn't really have anything to complain about, yet they still complained a lot and were emotionally upset. After the collapse, which the collapse happened from the pandemic, people were still the same level of being upset, but they were so focused on survival, so they did have a reason now. That was the cultural setting of the book. And the summary of the book would go, Arthur Leander, who was a worldwide famous actor, suddenly died while he was on stage from a heart attack. At the same time, a worldwide pandemic called the Georgian flu swept through the world and killed 99% of people. This book is about the stories of Arthur. It is also about the story of a young girl named Kristen and various other characters that are associated with Arthur. The novel is special because it uses the stories of characters before the pandemic and after the pandemic to show how civilization changed and the effects that it had.
The thematical concepts about how people respond to catastrophe. There's a lot of death and it is very horrific. Yeah, it is very horrific and has a very horrific take on survival. Even before the collapse, people were mentally or emotionally upset. Even in modern day comfort, we always feel like life is not enough, whether we have everything like Arthur Leander did or rarely anything like Kristen did.
So personally, I like this book a lot because I like the stories of each character. It really goes into different people and how they experience things, and you get to experience all of their perspectives. You have the young girl, Kristen, who has to deal with the collapse and survive. You have Arthur, who became very famous before, and it goes through his life before. You have his second wife and his third wife and his first wife, and you get to hear their stories. So it's a very good book. I also like the Museum of Civilization, which was a museum made by this man named Javon, who was very closely associated with Arthur. And in fact, the book goes into his story as well. Well, his museum had a lot of the old wonders of the world before the collapse. However, I did not like Arthur at all, and the book went so much into his entire life. No other characters got their whole life explained but him. And he was just a stuck-up man. He started to have regrets like the day of his death, but other than that, he was very self-absorbed, very, very stuck up, and I just did not like him at all, and I had to deal with hearing about him a lot. I think the people who would enjoy this book are people who are into playing survival movies and video games. Those who are also interested in internal conflict or have mental issues like like internal conflicts themselves would enjoy the book. I think that the people who would not enjoy the book would be the ones who are like very realistic and don't like to read things about big changes or like fiction or possibilities. Like they would probably be upset by the fact that a lot of people had to go through a lot. And they'd be like, no, books shouldn't be about that. It should be down to earth, realistic. Like the pandemic only killed 1% of people, not 99. But that's what makes this book so special.
I personally also liked how they went into depth in each character's life and the events that happened in their lives that led up to the pandemic and what everyone went through from their point of view. But I disliked how like everybody died. Like almost every character ended up dying. I did not want some of them to die, but like they did. But I think people that would like this book would be people who are like interested in this type of thing, like dystopian stuff, and like, yeah, I'm not interested in that type of stuff, but if you are, yeah. I don't know what else to say, Rachel.
So guys, you need to read this book because this book is great. If you don't read it, you're gonna miss out on something and you're gonna die and have missed out. So read this book. It is available in Miss Collins' room, and do it as soon as possible so then you can read more books by this author because this authoress was amazing.